When I was in college, we had this tradition. Every October, before Halloween, our class would go on a weekend picnic trip. It was supposed to be fun. Music, barbecue, ghost stories by the fire. That year, we went to a place called Silver Pine Lake, about 3 hours from the city, surrounded by pine trees so tall they almost touched the clouds. There were 12 of us, friends, classmates, and 2 professors. We stayed in a small wooden cabin right by the lake. It looked peaceful during the day, but at night, something about that water felt wrong, like it didn't reflect the sky properly. That first evening, the air smelled like wet leaves and smoke. Someone played guitar, others roasted marshmallows, and we all laughed as if life couldn't touch us. But around midnight, when most people had gone to sleep, Lena, my closest friend, tapped my shoulder. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. At first, I thought she meant the wind, but then I heard it too. A faint splash, followed by what sounded like someone laughing far across the lake. We went outside, flashlights in hand. The lake was still, black as ink. No ripples, no wind. But then, from the other side, we saw it. A small lantern light swing slowly back and forth, like someone walking near the shore. "Maybe one of the guys went out," I said. But all the others were inside, asleep. The next morning, our professor looked uneasy. He said quietly that the park rangers had warned him. A few years ago, a camping accident happened there. A student had drowned during a Halloween trip, and her body was never recovered. Her name was Emily Grace. No one camped near that lake after, until we did. That evening, while cooking dinner, Lena found something near the fire pit. A small silver bracelet half buried in the mud. It had a name engraved, Emily G. She laughed nervously, saying it must have belonged to someone before us. But when she touched it, her hand went cold. She said it felt like holding ice. That night, the rain started again, soft at first, then heavier. The sound of droplets hitting the cabin roof mixed with the faint creak of wood. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the smell of smoke. I thought maybe the fire had reignited outside, but when I looked out the window, I saw the lantern again. Only this time, it wasn't across the lake. It was right by the dock. Someone, or something, was standing there, holding it. The figure was pale, the hair hanging straight down, dripping. The water around her feet shimmered strangely, like it was breathing. I wanted to wake Lena, but I couldn't move. My throat was tight, my skin cold. Then, slowly, the lantern turned, facing directly toward our cabin, and the light flickered out. Everything went black. When I finally woke up, the sky was gray. Lena's bed was empty. We searched everywhere, the lake, the woods, even the road. No footprints, no sounds, nothing. Only her bracelet, left on the windowsill, wet and cold. Police came. They dragged the lake for 2 days. Nothing. They said maybe she wandered off, got lost in the forest. But I knew better, because that night, when I tried to sleep, I heard it again. That faint splash, followed by a whisper through the rain. "It's cold here. Come closer." It's been 8 years. Every Halloween, I light a candle by my window when it rains. Sometimes, when the night gets quiet enough, I hear the soft sound of water dripping, even though there's no rain outside. And once, just once, I saw a reflection in the glass behind me. Lena, smiling. holding that same silver bracelet. Maybe she never left the lake. Maybe she became part of the story that the forest keeps telling. A story about friends, laughter, and the things that never want to be forgotten. So if you ever go camping near Silver Pine Lake and you see a lantern glowing by the shore, don't look too long, because sometimes the water looks back. It's cold here. This story from Alex. When Alex moved into the new apartment, it seemed perfect, small, cozy, and quiet. The kind of place you could finally settle in after college. The first night was uneventful. Rain dripped outside, the heater hummed softly, and Alex unpacked boxes in the dim light. It started a few nights later, a soft creak from the ceiling above, just once. Shadows flickering in the hallway when no one was there. A whisper, too faint to understand, but enough to make Alex freeze. At first, Alex dismissed it. Old apartment settle, pipes move, rain makes sound strange. But then, things move. Keys on the table weren't where Alex left them. The clock ran a few minutes fast, then slow. The mirror in the bedroom reflected something odd. For a split second, Alex's reflection didn't match a hand movement. Alex confided in the roommate Sam. "Must be your imagination," Sam said, scrolling on the phone. But the next night, they both heard it. A soft tap 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 above their heads, rhythmically, like someone pacing the ceiling. Alex decided to investigate. Nothing visible, just an old vent and the ceiling tiles, slightly warped. Then a note appeared, small, almost hidden under the door, in neat handwriting, greater than "I see you." Alex's hand shook. The handwriting was familiar. Sleep became impossible. The tapping at night became pacing. The whispers grew clearer, phrases like "come," "up," or "I'm waiting." Shadows lingered near corners, never fully forming, but always watching. Friends visiting shrugged it off. Old building paranoia. But Alex noticed patterns. It happened only during rainy nights, exactly at 2:17 a.m. One stormy night, Alex woke to a loud crash from above. Rain pelted the windows, wind howled through the vents. Using a flashlight, Alex climbed the ladder in the closet that led to the attic. The room above was hidden, dusty, untouched, but the walls were covered, words in red ink, large and jagged, greater than "You are next." "I know you're here. Don't leave." Then, in smaller, almost trembling writing, greater than "Alex, I've been waiting." Alex stumbled back, heart racing, breath short. There was a small chair facing the far corner, rocking gently, though no one was there. A whisper floated from the corner, greater than "Come closer." Alex ran down the ladder, locked the attic, and never went near it again. Days later, Alex tried to rationalize. Old prank, sleep deprivation, coincidence? But every rainy night, the whispers returned. Sometimes in the reflection, Alex saw a figure standing behind, pale and blurred, always at the corner of vision. Eventually, Alex moved. New city, new apartment. But sometimes, in the middle of the night, during rain, the same tapping echoes in dreams, rhythmic, soft, persistent. And in those dreams, a familiar whisper chills the spine, greater than "I'm still above you." Mia was excited to start her first semester at college. New city, new friends, new life. Everything felt full of promise. Her dorm was old, a long U-shaped building with peeling paint squeaky stairs, and a history the orientation never mentioned. The North Wing, in particular, had a reputation. Students whispered about it. Abandoned rooms, a few locked doors, and hallway lights that flickered even on bright days. Some claimed things had disappeared there. Mia's friends dared her to check it out. She laughed, confident she wasn't afraid. It was late evening when she wandered through the hallway, flashlight trembling in her hand. The floorboards groaned under her feet. The walls smelled of damp paint and dust. Then she noticed locker 217, slightly ajar in a row of old, rusted lockers. Inside, a folded note, greater than, "Don't open me, but watch." Her heart skipped. Of course, she had to open it. The locker was empty, except for faint scratches along the metal inside, like someone had tried to claw their way out. She backed away quickly, telling herself it was her imagination. Over the next few nights, books in her dorm were slightly shifted. Hallway footsteps echoed exactly at 2:17 a.m. Locker 217 would sometimes be open, even after she was sure it was locked. Mia tried to ignore it, but the whispering began. At first, it was so faint, she thought she imagined it. Lonely. Come. Her friends laughed off her concern. Old dorm paranoia, they said, but the cold feeling that crept over her spine wasn't imagination. One rainy night, she stayed in the dorm to study. The storm outside tapped on the roof, each drop like a tiny drum. Lightning illuminated the hallway. Her flashlight flickered, then died briefly. Locker 217 slowly swung open on its own. Inside was a small hunched figure with long hair hiding its face. It whispered, "I'm lonely." Mia froze. She wanted to run, but couldn't. The figure moved, unnaturally slow, sliding just above the floor. She stumbled back, heart racing. Then the locker slammed shut. She swore she heard soft tapping inside, like fingernails brushing metal. Determined, Mia returned the next night, flashlight, phone, and two brave friends. They opened the locker together. It was empty. The air was icy. A faint smell of wet metal filled the hallway. Then, suddenly, Mia felt a cold hand grip her wrist. Nothing visible, only a weight, cold and unyielding, as though the air itself had fingers. They ran. The locker swung behind them, rattling softly. The next day, 217 was gone. A note lay on the floor, greater than, "You can leave, but I'm still here." Mia moved dorms soon after, but strange things followed her. Emails from old student accounts she never used. Small objects shifting in her apartment. Whispers, only during rainstorms, repeating the phrase, "I'm still waiting for you." She told friends. Some laughed, some rolled their eyes, but she knew the truth. The locker never left her. It was a shadow in her memory, a quiet dread, and a whisper that would return whenever the rain fell and the clock struck 2:17 a.m. Even now, years later, on stormy nights, she finds herself checking the corners of her room, imagining a dark figure lurking, waiting. Ethan grew up in Portland, Maine, a quiet town surrounded by misty forests and old brick streets. He had always been calm, curious, and slightly introverted, the kind of person who preferred books over crowds, attic corners over noisy parties, exploring abandoned houses, or sitting by foggy rivers with a notebook was his idea of peace. When his grandfather passed away, Ethan inherited the old family house on the outskirts of town It was an ancient, creaky home, tucked between towering pine trees, with moss-covered stone walls and fog that clung to the windows even in the morning. Ethan thought it was perfect, a place to write, reflect, and finally live alone, away from the chaos of city life. He arrived in late September as autumn rains began pattering on the roof. The house smelled of old wood, wet leaves, and faint traces of grandfather's cologne lingering in the corners. Every step on the wooden floorboards echoed like a whisper, and the attic filled with trunks and forgotten memories seemed to beckon him quietly. The first night was peaceful. Ethan unpacked his books, lit a small lamp, and sat by the fireplace, sipping tea while watching shadows dance on the walls. He felt a warm, calm solitude he hadn't known in years. But around midnight, just as he was about to sleep, a faint whisper drifted through the hallway. "Ethan, come." He froze. No one else was in the house. Just him, the old wooden floorboards, and the soft tap of rain. He told himself it was the wind or his imagination, curled back under the blanket and tried to sleep. But the whisper returned, clearer, more insistent, almost breathing his name. Over the next week, the house began to feel alive. Items moved. A chair slightly shifted, books misplaced. Doors he was sure were closed would be ajar. Mirrors reflected movement he hadn't made. One night, a shadow appeared at the end of the hallway, tall, thin, with a pale face hidden beneath dark hair. Ethan blinked. It vanished. He questioned his own eyes, thinking exhaustion and isolation had created tricks of light. He found an old diary in the attic belonging to a girl named Lillian who lived there more than a century ago. "I cannot leave. I am lonely. Anyone who sees me will never wake again." Ethan's heart raced. The diary detailed a tragedy. Lillian had been abandoned during a flood, left to die, her cries unheard. Her spirit remained angry and lonely, waiting for anyone who entered her house to notice. Despite the warnings, curiosity overcame fear. One rainy night, he stayed late, working on his writing. Lightning illuminated the house in sharp flashes. The whisper returned, soft but urgent, greater than, "Ethan, don't ignore me." Then, a figure appeared at the foot of his bed, pale, almost translucent hair covering the face. Empty, dark eyes. Ethan froze. His body refused to move. His breath caught in his throat. The figure lingered, watching, silent but heavy with presence. Then, as dawn broke, it vanished, leaving only an icy chill and the smell of wet earth. A week later, Ethan invited his friend Claire to the house. She laughed at the diary, the whispers, the shadows, calling them old house stories. At midnight, the storm raged. Rain struck the roof like thousands of tiny drums. The whispers returned, louder, angrier, greater than, "You shouldn't have come." Claire froze. Ethan reached for her, but it was too late. The figure appeared, taller, more solid than before. Her eyes widened, her lips opened, but no sound came. By morning, she was found lifeless in the hallway, pale as frost. No marks, no signs, only an icy aura lingering where she had been. Ethan barely escaped that night, heart pounding, mind reeling with fear. Ethan moved out immediately. He tried to live a normal life, college, work, friends, but he could never forget. The whispers came back during storms. Shadows lingered at the edges of his vision. Dreams of the pale figure haunted him, always reaching, always watching. He told friends the story. Most didn't believe him, but Ethan knew the truth. Lillian's spirit was real, and death followed those who ignored her warnings. Even now, on rainy nights, he feels it, greater than "I've warned you, you shouldn't have come."